Step into the Fieldhouse, your front row seat to legendary victories and untold stories. Hey, I'm your host, Lance Lunner, breaking down sports from the inside out, along with co-host Jimmy Lackey. It's more than just a game. It's the Fieldhouse Podcast. Hey, welcome into the Fieldhouse Podcast. We are a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network. We have a very, very special one today. I'm your host, co-host, actually, Lance Lunner.
He's the host. I'm the hack.
We have Jimmy Lackey here. He's the man here at Kids Inc. CEO and does so much for the community, more than just Kids Inc. But this is his heart and soul right now, and he you do an amazing job, man.
Thank you.
There's so many moving parts with Kids Inc. that I don't think that, and we're not looking for compliments, but the general public just doesn't know. But you handle it. You're kind of the duck, probably paddling like crazy. You're pretty cool and calm up top.
Well, there's a secret to it, and it's staff.
Okay,
it's people you work with.
I'm glad we're getting into this.
It's the people you work with.
Yeah, and so this is a very special person who works with us, and many a times on the podcast I get asked, well, what's Maddie look like? Who's Maddie? Things like that, because we're always referencing you. So I want Jimmy to officially introduce you.
Well, this is Madilyn Immel. We call her Maddie. We have 3 Maddies in our office.
What?
We have Madilyn, another Madilyn up front. Both of them go by Maddie. They spell it different.
Okay.
And then occasionally my dog Maddie comes to the office with us, so we have 3 Maddies on occasion.
So was this a popular name?
I don't know. Usually it's Madison.
Madison?
So Madilyn isn't as common.
Yeah.
Let me tell you why I like Madilyn. That was my grandmother's name.
Oh,
Nice.
And she
I love
was
that.
the sweetest, classiest lady you ever knew. That was her name. So I'm
That's
a
fabulous.
I'm a little affectionate to Maddie.
I love that.
Yep.
What's Maddie do here?
She does it all. So I'm gonna start with some questions, because I wrote some questions that I wanted to ask her.
I've got some too. But
Okay, can I ask my first one?
yes, go for it.
So,
Wait, we got to keep our tradition
oh yeah,
alive.
yeah. Go back.
This
go
is
back.
our 40th podcast. This is a very special
Yeah,
one.
sorry about that.
We didn't think we had reached 10. Iffy on 20. A little more confident at 30, and now at 40, we're thrilled to be here. But we have a tradition of, a player, an athlete, a friend you played with in school days, whoever wears number 40 or wore 40 or the number 40. It could be a number on a race car. We don't care, really. But who and my number 40.
I'm gonna let you go first.
Yeah, it's Gale Sayers for sure. It's Gale Sayers, the Kansas Comet. He only spent like 5 or 6 years in the NFL. Injuries, knee injury knocked him out, but he was Barry Sanders before Barry Sanders. He was also he was just one of the greatest running backs of all time. And the reason I grew up in Kansas. I was born in Kansas, a little place called Hoxie. So all these Kansas stars were near and dear to my heart. But I will say one of the coolest stories that two quick Gale Sayers stories. He comes into town to give a speech. I forget what organization it was, but they let me go with him to pick him up in the limo.
Wow.
Okay? So I'm sitting there. Gale Sayers says maybe 3 words. He's not arrogant. He's just quiet and conservative as all get out. Like no words.
That's funny.
And I was like, oh my gosh, you know what I mean? It was awesome. It was awesome, and I had a paperback I Am Third. He wrote a book called I Am Third, Jesus, Christ is number 1 in his life. I think family and his parents were number 2, and then maybe football was 3. I probably have them wrong. I read the book, I promise you. However, paperback book, it's ripped. Like at the corner, he signs the inside for me. He goes, at least you read this. You know what I mean? I could tell. That's about all I talked to him. And I wrote a column of how quiet he was, and that I had a respect for that. And then locally here, Don Shanklin from the Dragons. Yep. You know what I mean?
Carver Dragons.
Carver Dragons was an amazing athlete. He played for Kansas and was the MVP of the 1969 Orange Bowl. But he told me a story once. So they're recruiting him from Amarillo. So they fly him up to Kansas City. Some guy is coming in just styling, dressed out, a brand new convertible car. and it's Gale Sayers is picking him up, and Donnie was a running back as well, and that he said that was the coolest hour-and-a-half drive he ever had back to the campus. But that's
What a
who picked him up.
story.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
What a story.
Anyway, it's number 40. There's some good ones, but Gale Sayers forever.
Yeah. Well, I told Lance beforehand I had to look in the book because I got so many things on my mind right now, and 40 just wasn't clicking, and I opened it, and he's the face of 40. I went, oh, my gosh. Lance was sitting here when I opened the book. I go, duh. Yeah. You know, I remember Monday Night Football, Howard Cosell, Don Meredith, and Joy Piccolo coming on, and Howard Cosell interviewing her at halftime the night before Brian's song was going to premiere on ABC. And, you know, that's just one of those movies I'll never forget. I've watched it a jillion times. But when you talk about quiet and Billy D. Williams and who played
Billy D. Williams who played
did a great job
Yeah.
portraying Gale Sayers in that quiet, you know, just doesn't
It was
say
much.
much.
I'm not sure you've ever heard of Brian's song, but it was a made-for-TV movie about you had this it was Gale Sayers' running mate in the backfield, and he got sick obviously and passed away, like a healthy
They were
guy.
the first black and white to room together for the Bears. It was quite a story. It's a really deep story.
First movie, I think I was 5th or 6th grade. First movie I ever cried at.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, I was just bawling in my living room. I remember to this day.
But I remember them interviewing Joy Piccolo on Monday Night
cool.
Football, and it was going to premiere the following night on ABC. And what an iconic movie! James Caan played Brian Piccolo, and just unbelievable movie. And true
Maddie,
life.
do you have a 40?
No. No idea.
Are you a number person
No.
at all? That's cool.
No, I only know my family numbers, my husband's numbers. That's it.
That's it.
That's very
that's cool.
So
See, I'm a nerd that way. Like all pins, like you know, we have all these 4-digit pins we've got to remember.
Oh, yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I remember them by athletes' jerseys.
Interesting.
Like the restroom where I work, you have to dial in. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So, and I'm not going to tell you where it is, but it's Don Meredith, number 17, and Babe Ruth, 03.
03.
So it's 1703.
Wow.
But
that's a neat trick.
That's how I remember all those numbers. Okay.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You know what my 6-digit pin is?
No.
So
Do we want to
when
know?
I worked at WT,
Is this safe?
this is when WT got the first fancy phone system on campus, and they assigned us 6-digit numbers. We didn't pick them; they assigned them for pin codes to get into our voicemail.
Ooh,
That's still my 6-digit number. I
like
still
it.
remember it from 1989, and that's the number I use for my 6-digit.
You have any trick to remember those 4 digits, or you're just so young you remember them?
I have to say it over and over again. The audible learning. I'll accidentally learn numbers.
Are
when
you
I
the
hear
one
them.
who has like same password for a lot of stuff, or are you really into changing it up?
I have the same like kind of password, and then I switch the details around.
Yeah, I like
Usually
that.
is
I
what I
have,
do.
I have one where I put like hashtag,
Oh yeah.
Yes.
and I use the same number.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Or no hashtag.
Ah.
You know what I mean? So
yes.
if I forget, at least it's one of those two.
Yeah.
I'm
There you
bad.
go.
I hate them. Well, I hate having to change passwords on the banks.
kidding.
And,
Yeah.
You got to go in and write them down, then you forget where you wrote them down.
Yeah.
Hey, let me tell you
Good
something.
stuff,
Let me
though.
tell you
Yeah,
something
go
about
right
this young lady.
Yes.
That I bet you don't know. Maybe
I'm-
you do. Let's just talk a little bit about your background. But she played softball in college.
I didn't know that.
There you
I
go.
really didn't. So what number were you?
12?
Okay.
That was
Yeah.
insignificant.
But
I
it
don't
wasn't a
really-
big deal. They just
No,
take
they
the
just
jersey?
gave me a number. I didn't get to pick it.
I love that strategy. Yeah.
So tell them a little bit about
Yeah.
your background, where you came from, and went to school, and then how you ended
All right.
up.
Where'd you play college softball first of all?
Vernon. I just played my freshman year
Nice.
in Vernon, Texas.
Vernon Junior college?
Yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I didn't get to play because
Okay.
I got COVID.
Oh
And
my God.
Took me out. But
Really? And
Yeah,
you just
bad.
said I'm done, maybe, or
yes,
okay.
I was done. Yeah.
and,
all
went,
right.
and then
Yeah.
went to Houston.
Yes, I was in Vernon, Houston, and then WT.
All right. Obvious question. Vernon to Houston. My gosh. I mean, that's two completely different
Yes.
worlds.
And originally from
Yeah, yeah.
Fredericksburg.
The Hill Country.
Yes.
We're going to ask her about the Hill Country. It's legendary here in the state of Texas. But how big of adjustment was that? I'm just curious, going from Vernon to Houston.
It was two different worlds, obviously. One is like in the middle of nowhere, nothing, country, southern. My accent got really thick. And then I went down to Houston, and it takes 30 minutes to drive 2 miles.
The traffic.
Yes, people everywhere. But it was a good adjustment. It was a good move.
What did you do in Houston? Go to school?
I just wanted to get my associates before I got my bachelor's. That was just the plan. And my best friend was also going through a program at a school in Houston that did associates. So I was like, cool, I'll come with you because I have no idea what I want to do. So that's how I ended up there.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yep.
Yeah.
So she ends up at WT, and at that time, we were looking for an intern to come in and work with Ashley, who was our director of marketing and communications at the time. And Maddie came in, and we had a couple of really good interviews that day, and she just stood out. Mad skill sets, things of that nature, and so we brought her on as a intern, and probably a year and a half you were here or so as an intern, maybe closer to 2 years. I can't remember. I lose track of time, but you could just see the skill set.
For sure. Yeah,
and so lo and behold, Ashley walks in one day, and she's taking a job at Pantex. And this kid's been out of college 3 months, maybe at the time, if that, maybe 2. And I walked in, I said, "You want a job?" And we sat and visited and talked about it, and fortunately she agreed to stay with us. And so my question is this: we bring you in as an intern, and what were your initial thoughts coming in about what Kids Inc.'s about? And then fast forward that to today, knowing what you know, and what's the difference, and what's been the transfer for you? Because I know it has to have been different.
That's a good question. Well, I just moved here. Let's see, a few months before I saw Kids Inc. And that was weird. I was just cooking one day, and I thought, I need to look online for this. I don't know why. I just need to look online I just feel like there's a job, because I had been looking on Handshake. So I flip up my laptop, click in Handshake, and Kids Inc. pops up. And I was like, marketing, intern, Kids Inc., sports, cool. Filled out the resume, sent it in, went back to cooking, and then I was like, wait, what's Kids Inc.? What did I just sign up for? So I went back and I looked it up, and I had no idea, but I played Little League growing up, which is kind of like our Kids Inc., but just softball, baseball. And so it reminded me of that connection, that similar youth sports. I have a heart for that. I have 7 younger siblings.
Oh, wow.
We connect through sports so much. It's a huge family thing. And so I was like, that's super neat. That the one thing I would like really accidentally
bump into.
Yeah, it was something that was up my alley in so many different ways.
I got a timeout. 7 siblings? That's awesome.
Yes.
And you're the oldest?
No, I have an older brother. So there's 9 of us.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
So you had to, when you're in a family setting like that, you just get along, don't you?
I saw the head shake.
No. You have to fit in, because you're not standing out. You're not like
No.
an only child or what. That's what I meant.
Yes. We do actually all get along. The ones closest to each other probably, have their little fight bubbles. But
That's
I get
amazing.
along with all of them, have a relationship
Have you
with
ever
every
met
single one of them.
anybody else in this day and age? That used to be very. I'm from a family of 4 kids. Okay, so which was really normal growing up in the 60s and 70s, and now it's 2, 1. Have you met many with 8 siblings?
It's usually 7. I think I've met some with 7.
Yeah.
7, 6 siblings, 5 siblings.
So
Not
when you look
often
back
9.
on that, how cool? How was that?
I love it. And we were homeschooled up until high school, so a lot of time together. Love it. Could not imagine anything else.
That's amazing. Yeah. One thing. Can I ask one question?
Oh, absolutely.
Because here's what I love about Maddie is, like, you are diverse, but you really just have that vision, and I've never had that. I was more of a writer at the Globe News. Anybody who could design a page, I really admired. I didn't quite have that skill set. You know what I mean? So where did you, have you always kind of liked what something looks like, the design, because you're really talented at like, okay, hey, that looks good, or that doesn't look that great?
I don't know. I think, it started drawing. Like, I was an artist, loved to draw, paint. My sister did it, kind of did it after her. And then I I was thrown in a yearbook class in high school and was in charge of the graphics, the layout design. And that's kind of where I started growing the passion and the love for things that look good. I just really like things looking good, but more so to communicate well. Like if it looks pretty but doesn't get the point across, there's no point.
Yeah, no, I love that. Talk about respect. I respect so much design that pops. You know what I mean? Because our desk people at the Globe News, you know, they wrote the headlines, they designed the paper, and when they really came up with, I regret not praising them more as I look back on it. Because when it was bad, you're like, oh my gosh, they just messed me over. You know, but when it was good, I'm like, holy moly, you know.
Yes.
And they motivated each other to be better. And I think that's what Maddie's about.
One of the things that I get a lot of fulfillment in is giving young people opportunities to, you know, take a role. Back in the day when I started thinking about what I wanted to do, you look at job ads and everything was 3 to 5 years experience or 5 to 7 years experience.
Yeah.
And how are you supposed to get that experience if you don't give somebody a chance? And so we've hired a lot of young folks here, and I believe in that. But you go in, and so she comes in, and she, you know, probably doesn't have a clue what we do here. How does that transition go to when you first got here to where we are now? Because eventually your boss walks in and says, "Oh, by the way, I've been wanting to do a podcast for 2 years, and we're going to do that." And so, you know, we've got a full-blown director of marketing.
And by the way, how was this first interview though? We got his side, we got Jimmy's side. I want to hear your side. You're sitting there, and he's asking you these questions.
Oh, for the original interview?
Yeah, the original interview.
I enjoyed it because they were asking relevant questions. And so I knew I had interviewed first with Ashley and then second with more of the people here. And it was just interesting that they were actually asking me relevant questions, but also asking me about my passion, where my learning came from, not just what do you know, but how do you know it?
Yeah.
And just kind of assessing. I feel like that assesses the future more.
Yeah.
Not just, I need to use you, so what can you do for me? But who are you and how are you going to contribute to the picture as a whole?
Wow.
And I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, that's cool.
So she's second generation intern for us. Let me just take my backstory here. So we went for 6 months. Jessica Mallard was the dean of the College of Fine Arts and Humanities at WT. My friend Angela Spalding's a graduate dean. And we had advertised for an intern down at WT for probably 6 months, looking for somebody to come in and help us with some marketing communications. And we got zero response. And so Amberly, Ashley's sister, was working for Channel 4 at the time. Was Hildebrandt then, now it's Winningham now. Anyway, she came in, she wanted to do one of their Heart of the High Plains stories with Kids Inc. And she was a new reporter for Channel 4, came in, we visited, and she did such a great job. She was bubbly and outgoing, and I thought, man, they'll kill me if I try to steal her. But I said, Amberly, let me ask you a question. You just left WT, and I handed her this job description that we'd had down there for 6 months. I said, as a student, would this have ever been of interest to you? And she goes, oh my gosh, can I give this to my sister? And so she took it, and Ashley called me the next day. In comes Ashley, 2 years, intern for us, graduates. We hire her as the director of marketing communications. And then she was there with us until, and she's the one that we interviewed Maddie, and then Maddie comes in. And when Ashley leaves, second generation from starting with an intern. But it's going back to that. The reason I like those young folks, they know the newest, latest, and greatest because they're learning those things that have already passed us by.
Yeah.
And they bring that to the table. And so I know what she walked into that day and who we were then, which wasn't that long ago, is vastly different than today. And I want you to talk about that because people don't know what goes on behind the scenes around here and how much work goes in. So talk about where you started and now what all you're doing. Tell them exactly, sneak peek into Maddie's world every day, all the things that you have to be responsible for because it's really massive. And I'll leave it at that.
Okay, well, I think it changed because I started just helping, started with socials, started with graphic design. Obviously, the podcast wasn't a thing yet. And so it was more of promoting for sports. and that was kind of that. And I think it's developed more into, we're also promoting our vision, or promoting our just longevity, the importance, it affects so much more than just you register and play your sport. There's so many stories to tell. It has so much history and so much future. I get that a lot. People saying that's a good place to work for. It's never going to die. Things might pass on.
Right.
Things might.
I really hope you're right.
Because sports, kids, families, I don't think that's ever going to go away. That's a heart with a lot of people.
Yep.
But what I do throughout a day, varies day to day, but let's see, social media, emails, podcast production, video editing, photo, video content, website design, website editing, rules editing, any kind of format, anything people want, coaches packets, communication, text messages, graphic design. I do a lot of billboards or advertisements or and there's probably a lot that I'm missing. And
she makes us look pretty.
So how come she's not getting a raise with all those job titles, man?
Well, she got one. She got a big one when we hired her, and that's not. And I told her that day, this won't be where it stops.
Yeah. No, that's awesome.
We were just really fortunate that she was here, that the transition was smooth, because Ashley did a great job for us, and she made it really easy to transition from one to the other, and then brings her own set of skills to the table. And one thing she didn't mention is, because she has so much to do, it's not just Amarillo. She's marketing for Hereford, she's marketing for Elk City, and she's marketing for Dalhart, our companies in those communities too. And that's it's busy around here.
Yeah. And hey, what's the best part of that job in Europe? You know what I mean? What do you wake up and say, hey, this is pretty cool?
That's a hard question, because like what I love is all of it, and that's why the job was so appealing to me. Yes, I don't just get to do video, I don't just get to do graphics, so I love all of it. Differs day to day. Right now it's probably web design going into video. That's probably where it's at right now.
Toughest challenge you face in this particular job? Is it managing your time?
No, ironically, creativity, especially when it comes to social media and emails, because I myself have never done social media. I don't have it personally.
Yeah.
And so trying to connect on that end and watch what's happening and grow while never having experienced that probably takes the most thought.
Yeah. Yeah.
And is a huge part of how we connect today. I mean, I can remember the day where all we could do was, print a flyer and send it to the schools. And then all of a sudden email comes about. Well, you really didn't know much about broadcast emailing, and it was expensive to do. And then you have all these meetings. There's so many. If you could go in and watch her schedule to-do lists and put in a chronicle what all the things that she does, things that she can automate, all of those things, she takes advantage of the tools available to her, and I would hope she would say this on air: whatever she needs, we're going to provide her. And because the end result is she's our message to the public. And we've made some shifts in paradigm in this just in the last 6 months. One example, we used to send postcards to all of our upcoming sports. Well, postage and printing is very expensive in this day and time. They looked into a text messaging program. We have all of this database available to us. 95 to 99% of our parents carry a cell phone. They would rather get a text than look at an email or a postcard.
Yeah.
She can direct text message everybody about upcoming events. It's right there on their phone. It has a link to where it needs to go. I've been tracking numbers because, our participation numbers, they go up, they go down in different sports from year to year. They're never going to be, you're never just going to be like this. It's one sport's up, one sport's down, one sport's up, one sport's down. But I was really tracking this hard in the last 6 months because we changed for something that we'd done forever by sending these postcards to going to more text messaging and using social media as our venue, and our numbers aren't dipping. And in fact, they're up a little bit. And so I feel really good about that change, because I'm not married to any one idea, but I am difficult to get off the rock if this has been working for us. And it's a scary dive off there if you haven't done it before. But not when you got somebody like her masterminding it from behind. Yeah, it works great.
Do you enjoy the day-to-day? I mean,
yes.
Yeah. It looks like you're busy, and that's what we all want to be, a little bit not bored and repetition. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, I also have to ask you though? You had to sit there and listen to some two old dudes here going back and forth. But do you have a favorite pod we did, by any chance?
By the way, she's running this podcast from that computer right there.
Yeah. So that's, or no. I mean, it's all good if you don't. Any person or anything?
I think I have one, and I can't remember. Oh, what was his name? Alex?
Oh, Alex O'Brien.
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
We'll tell Alex he's not.
You're out, Alex.
Well, no,
He's
there
okay
was
with that.
someone, I can't ever remember the names. There's been so many of them.
remember the
But they were
subject matter?
so... he was talking about his stories about Boys Ranch. And
Andy Justice.
Yes, there we go. It was an A.
Yeah.
I really liked his speech. I really enjoyed the way he told stories, the way he spoke, his vocabulary. I really appreciate
his background suits him well for what he does.
Yes.
I've known Andy since he came to WT, and he was one of those around campus that we knew behind the scenes. He's going to make it big for us, and boy, he represents our university well and does a great job. He's the dean of the newscasters in town now. It's hard to believe that he's even old enough to be that. But what's he been, 27 years, I think he said?
When he started out, he was in sports. Obviously I was in sports with the Globe News. And now his hair is gray. Yeah. You know what I mean?
He needs a haircut. I saw him put something out there about needing to do a haircut or not. I'm like, get a haircut.
He went with the long hair. I feel for those guys on TV all the time. So he
they
used to really crop it. You know what I mean? Now it's got the longer look, and it does look like, hey, this dude didn't get a haircut this week, okay? But he'll laugh.
He's got, I listen to this at my house because I had 3 daughters and a wife.
Yeah.
And he sits next to Break Bill. Let's just be honest. Clint's a good-looking dude.
Yeah.
And he's got to sit next to Clint.
Yeah.
So he's got competition on the table with him.
He does. He really does. So, hey, what do you miss most that you're up here about the Hill Country? The Hill Country is such an amazing place.
Yes, it is.
We all love the Panhandle. Obviously, we think it's the place, but no one goes to the Hill Country and comes back mad. You know what I mean? It's just a gorgeous area.
Probably the way it looks. I miss the trees. I miss the hills. I miss the country. I grew up on 6 acres and even more we live right by our family. So I miss that a lot. It wasn't dust and flat and city and
wind
and all the things.
Yeah.
It's gorgeous.
Yeah, it's a gorgeous area.
It is.
Yeah, it really is. So, yeah.
I never asked you this question, and it's irrelevant. Abby Spurgeon, did you go to school with her? Basketball player, she came to play at WT.
I think so.
You remember Abby?
Yeah.
I at least know her name.
I thought, hey, I bet y'all are close in age. I just now dawned on me. She grew up in Fredericksburg. I just wondered.
I know her name, that's for sure.
She had a sister too that played at Lubbock Christian. They're actually still playing.
That's where my old boss Garrett Von Netzer lives.
Yeah, that's where Garrett lives.
He's got a ranch or whatever around there. But
yep.
Yeah. So it's like an hour from San Antone, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So yeah.
My brother-in-law both my brother-in-laws. One lives in Universal City, just I guess north and west of San Antonio. And then my other brother lives in Ingram, just south of Fredericksburg.
Yes.
Down by Kerrville. So I know that area a little bit. I'm not real well versed on it. I had a really good friend, Denny Lacey. His brother and him had a place in Comfort there. So that 30-mile stretch between Comfort and Fredericksburg is probably the place I know the most.
Yeah.
I don't know the area at all.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm rarely down there. But, okay, I've got to ask you, Rock Rose, you know what I mean, is a huge project. You have it, you're kind of coming from the Hill Country, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
How do you think this is going to impact our city when it's completed and all that, as you look at it, because you have this vision?
I think it's going to impact in so many different ways. I think the way I'm most excited about is probably just that place for people to go so often. Like, I say my second home in Fredericksburg was the softball field, and it was dirt, and it was hard, and it was clay, and it was pretty rough.
Yeah.
So for people
Fair
that
enough,
call
yeah.
a second home a turfed complex, gorgeous area, that's going to be so neat. That's just so cool.
Yeah.
I would have loved to do that. Turf is like my favorite thing to play on. That's just going to be such a blessing, even when kids don't know it.
Talk a little bit about that, playing on turf versus playing on regular natural surface.
It's a lot less painful. I'll say that for sure. A lot less like you don't have to manage it. I mean,
Sliding,
wet,
fielding, the whole.
Yeah, weather doesn't affect it as much. Sliding's better unless it's wet. It's a slip and slide, which is kind of fun.
Yeah.
It's just so much nicer. You can predict the ball a lot better. It's not popping out, a lot of less injuries because it's not popping up in your face.
Yeah.
Especially for softball with the infield being dirt. So
Well, and
it's
y'all are
just,
so tight too. I mean, your
yeah.
field is small,
oh yeah.
and so
Yeah.
everything's
And I
tight.
will say this also up here, you know, really the dust is always blowing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, we were all on those really rock hard fields and stuff like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Hey, what position did you play, by the way?
Second base.
Okay.
Yes.
So you could turn the double play? Or
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The reason I played it, well, I caught a lot, and then
Really?
my dad always wanted me to play second, so I played there. And I ended up liking it a lot because I could mess up like 3 times and still get them out. That's the fact, because you're right there,
Yeah.
and I also can see everything, and I'm not short, so I don't have to control everything.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I mean, you're always busy at second.
Yeah.
Always doing
That's
something.
cool. Yeah, I played a lot of second base myself. And short, so yeah. Hey, go ahead.
No, go ahead. You got one.
No, I just wanted to, you did a video that was awesome, you know, like the check-in for the football
Oh, yes.
gear and stuff like that. Is that, do you get intrigued by that, just like a chance to tell a story maybe in a different view? Because the view you gave us of the shoes and all that, I really enjoyed that. But are you looking for that now, or did that just happen?
Okay, that's actually a really cool story. So Haley Bell, I work with her really closely. She's extremely creative and a very good writer. But I had always kind of wanted to do a video of the checkout, and she was kind of like, yeah, cool. And so I took my camera, and I could not get the shot out of my head. Before we even got there, I was like, I just need to take a video of these kids' shoes lined up. I just had that vision in my head, and I couldn't get it out of it. I was like, that's so unimportant. Like, there's so many stuff going on, but I really wanted to get that angle. And so I took several. And then a few days later, after it was done, Haley came in and showed me the story she had written. She had really just felt that on her heart, and she had written it from the perspective of these kids' shoes.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of the concept of it. I was like, Haley, that's why I needed that shot. That's why I had it in my head, because the Lord was putting all these pieces together and we didn't even know it. And so with her writing and her recording, and then my video shots that I just had felt like I needed to take, it ended up being that story.
Yeah, it's gold. It's gold if you get a chance to check that out.
They're working on one right now, and I'm not going to mention names because I want it to be fresh when it comes out. But we actually have a high school student graduating from high school this year in the area here that doesn't want graduation gifts. They want all of their gifts to be to the Rock Rose Project. Who does that?
Nobody.
And so
An amazing person. That's it.
we went to lunch with them a week or so ago, kind of got a little bit of story. Maddie and Haley are going to do some follow-up, and we're going to put a story about that together. That doesn't just happen. The dad said, is it really that unique? I said, I've been here 30 years. I've never had one of those. Yeah, that's a story.
Yeah.
And she's right. There's a lot of stories that we should be telling. And between her and Haley, we've got the right people in here to be telling those stories. This organization's 80 years old. It was here 50 years before I got here, and it's going to be here a lot longer than that after I'm gone. And I just tell our staff on a regular, we're the caretakers for Mr. Farley's program today. That's our role. And for us to carry on his legacy, to make sure that if a kid wants to play a sport, we give them that opportunity to play. She gets that information in front of the parents, and we take it from there. But boy, she makes us look good.
Yeah, I'm excited.
We're so fortunate to have her.
I think what you just talked about, just the turf fields out there, obviously it's impacted this person you're going to present to us, but it says it all, man. It's so cool that somebody that young knows. Like,
the
hey,
impact, yeah.
Yeah, it's going to impact them forever, yeah.
Forever.
I think it'll become a meeting place as well
Yes.
for Amarillo. You have all these parents there, chance to see, people you may haven't seen for a little bit, or kids running into kids and things like that. I think that's going to be the coolest thing. And then no dust. It may come from the other fields, but no dust. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes.
Sounds weird, but it's true.
I spoke to a group yesterday at lunch, and I tell them the things that I envision the most about this complex probably aren't what most people think about. I think about those single parents that have 2 or 3 kids playing in our program that, we've got their kids scattered out on 3 different fields across town, or that grandparent on a fixed income that it's just tough to get 2 or 3 kids to somewhere. And it goes back to what you just said about a meeting place. Instead of them being scattered out all over town, everybody's going to be, unless it's tackle football, it's going to be there if it's an outdoor sport. So you are right. It's going to bring a lot more people together that might not see each other on a Saturday or whatever night it is that we play, because they're scattered out all over town. Now everybody's going to be at the complex. And
I know you guys wish it was already done, but it'll get done.
So update on that. Week from today, we have a meeting at City Hall with our construction team and the folks at City in the areas that directly deal with all the things that we've been talking about: engineering, road development, utilities, drainage, all the things. We're meeting with them next week, and I'm going to push some buttons, and I'm just letting them know this podcast will air the day I'm coming. So at 11 o'clock, City Hall, I'm coming, and we got to get started, and that's going to be my message. We've got donors that have invested in this deal. We just landed another $1 million donation last week. And so,
congrats.
We've got what we need to get started on this deal, and and it's not just the city. There's a lot of parts to it. But I need everybody involved that's on the construction side of our project to get in tune with one another, and let's go. Let's start moving dirt. We've probably got 4 to 6 months worth of dirt work alone to do. We need to get started on that. And so we need a starting point. We need that pinpoint where everything is going to connect to Coulter, because we did learn this a couple of weeks ago. We're not going to have to import dirt. We're going to be exporting dirt, which is a huge cost savings for us. We were afraid we're going to have to import dirt. To give you an example, there's a big pile of dirt out there by the new medical complex just west of town, out there by the new Sam's, and there's about 30,000 cubic yards of dirt that they were willing to give us. But in order to transport that out to Rock Rose was going to be about a $200,000 price tag, because it's going to take a long time to get all that dirt moved. We don't have to have it now. So think about those things. When we can make those savings right off the bat, it sure makes a difference for us. So we got to push buttons. We need to get started, and I'm going to keep pushing those buttons until I see those dozers out there moving that dirt.
It's kind of like, since I've been moving, we talked about it on the last podcast, the nightmare of moving. It's not a nightmare is the wrong word, but I will say, I know you're just ready to move.
I'm tired of sounding like a broken record.
Yeah, exactly.
I really am, because that's what I sound like.
Yeah, no.
And that's the frustrating part.
Hey, I wanted you guys to, I don't mean to embarrass you two, but I want you to brag. Well, what do you like best about working for Jimmy Lackey?
I think a lot of it is what he said earlier about the tools. I don't think there's a lot of places you could go that I can just casually walk in an office and be like, hey, can I get this new camera? And can I get these 3 cameras for a podcast studio? And can I get this new software? And it's just like, yeah, sure. Yeah, we can make that work. Yes, we'll support you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously with all in reason, and we're, very reasonable and very conscious, but I think that's cool. Like that, there's not a lot of places that just give you the ability to work your best. And that's really fun, especially when I'm working towards something that I am also passionate about.
Yeah, you want that end product.
Yes.
To be proud of that stuff.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, brag on Maddie.
Well, it goes back to something that I talk about fairly regularly in audiences that I visit with. If I don't hire people smarter than me in certain areas, then we're not going to be very good. Boone Pickens, at the president's home at WT many years ago, in a small little office area, he and I ended up in the same room. And Boone was the chairman of our board at that time when I worked at WT. And we got to talking, and I said, Mr. Pickens, I'm going to ask you one question. What made Mesa? What was the one thing that made Mesa big? And he said, Jimmy, if I didn't hire geologists smarter than me, but Mesa would have never been anything. And that's never left my mind. I tell people all the time, the day that I'm the smartest guy in the room, I need to go to another room because I'm not that smart. And there's all these talking heads out there and all these people that want to yak. Well, then go find another room. If you're the smartest guy in the room, go find another room where you might learn something. And I'm never going to be the smartest guy in the room. I've got people on our staff that are way smarter than me in certain areas. I'd like to think there's some things I bring to the table, and what you end up with, and then is all the good parts come together and work. As far as Maddie goes, it just gets done. It just gets done. I know there's sometimes I feel like, man, am I putting too much on her plate? But for instance, little things that people don't think about. We're getting all this signage made over in Hereford, and we're having all these big, huge metal frames built for it. And I mean, I'm talking signs 25 foot wide, 10 foot tall, and they got to be right. And you want them looking pretty. And so I can design. Maddie knows I can put something on paper and I can kind of get what I want on there, but it's going to be very square or it's going to be very round. It's not going to have any oomph to it.
Yeah, any wow factor, I call it.
And so I can take it in there to her and say, all right, take this and make it look better. And man, here it comes. And it looks way better. And so I would hope that giving her a skeleton of something that you want helps, but it's not going to be the end result. And I know that, and I certainly don't take offense to it, because if you got a better idea than mine, that's the idea we're going to go with. I don't have an ego when it comes to ideas. The best idea is the one we need to put on the table. In her area, there's not anybody else in our office that has better ideas with the creativity and all the marketing matters that we do. And so she's outstanding in that respect.
I will say this, having been around Kids Inc. quite a while now, it's not a place that you're afraid to walk into. You know what I mean? You go into some places and there's like, I don't know how quite to say it without being really brutal, but it's kind of a fear factor, of hey, am I going to fail today in this place? The creativity, there's a real nice vibe here. I'll just say that. Do you agree with that?
Yes, I mean, I think I've right across, like I was saying, Haley's right there, and then I can walk around to Tasha and ask her a question, and then I can go to Jerry's office or Jimmy's office, and there's no one that I'm like at the door going, I really don't want to talk to this person. I'm kind of scared.
Yeah.
I can just roam about, and I know that everyone I speak to is gonna
I think you guys should be proud of that.
And
just an outsider looking in. When you come in here, it's a friendly environment, but it's you got to have your game on too. You're expected to achieve. And I think that's what makes
take care of kids and take care of the customer.
Take care of those kids.
That's what we're going to do.
Yeah.
And that customer's a parent, and sometimes they're difficult to deal with. But we're going to get through it. And we've got frontline staff that is so good at it.
And then there's some great parents out there too, and some great volunteers.
Far more. J.W. Faust, dear friend of mine, owned Windy Wrestle Printers forever, and his family still owns it. Used to have this thing. I wish I had a copy of it right now, but it says why customers quit, and it has a list of why they quit. And the big one is you didn't treat them right. You weren't courteous to them, and the rest is the general things. They've moved away, or a friend had another business. They went and did business with their friend. But the biggest one is because you didn't treat them right.
Yeah. And everybody in this world wants to be treated right. Like you said. I mean,
especially when it's their kid.
Especially when it's their kid. So yeah. All right, I got the Furious 4 for you. Are you ready?
Oh, gosh. Okay.
It's not furious at all.
Think fast.
It's not furious at all, okay? Big dogs or little dogs? Or no dogs?
No dogs. If I had to, big dog.
Okay. But now a family of 8 siblings, no dogs?
Outside. We lived in the country, so we had an outside dog. We have a garage. That was its home, but no pets inside.
Yeah, okay. Wow. You still believe, is that how you roll?
Yes.
Okay. All right. That's all right.
That's why she's one side of the brain and I'm the other.
Big dogs or little dogs?
I got both.
Yeah.
I've told you that. I've got.
What are the names of your dogs?
I got Zip the Shih Tzu, Oliver the Yorkie, and Maddie the Golden Doodle.
There you go.
Yep.
Maddie the Golden Doodle. So yeah. And I have one Teddy Ball Game.
Yes.
A little Shih Tzu that I love every day. So, all right, phone calls or text messages?
Probably depends on what it is. Recently, it's been phone calls because I start texting and I'm like, I'm just gonna call him.
Yeah. What about with the hubby? I mean, is it both?
We text all the time just because that's more available for him. He'll read it when he can. He's busy. He's constantly working.
Yeah.
So that's easier communication for us.
Yeah. Okay.
And he's a great guy too. He's come in and helped Maddie on a lot of our events. Yeah, he's awesome. So
yeah, that's cool.
Shout out to him too.
Yeah. Did he come from a big family?
No, just his sister. He grew up here though.
So
but
so when you
just
met
his
the
sister.
fam, how was that? Like,
I mean, it's fun. They love him.
Yeah.
They think he's so smart, which is hilarious to me.
yeah, I got you. I love that. Phone calls?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's what I thought. Yeah. All right, a brush with the famous. Okay, maybe somebody over your life you've run into, airport, or met up. They're in a restaurant you're in or something. Do you have a nice brush?
think
I mean,
so.
Houston, Texas has a lot of famous people.
Yeah.
But you don't have that brush with the famous?
I probably do, but I'm so far removed from the world, I have no idea.
Yeah.
Like,
okay. I like
don't
that.
know.
I really do like that. Like I'm with you. I'm like autographs. I'm not really an autograph
Yeah,
person to say,
yeah.
why didn't you get that guy's autograph? I was maybe earlier in my life, like meeting a Tom Landry or a John Wood, and I would, maybe
Right.
something like that. But
Sure.
I've really backed up. But yeah. That's
So
cool.
here's
What about your brush with the famous?
I told you. I wrote.
You
on-
gotta have.
I wrote on.
Probably
a
have several.
Yeah, well, no, I really don't. But I got to ride from Amarillo to Dallas on a plane with George Bush.
Yeah.
George Bush, the younger George Bush, before he became governor. Right before he became governor. Great 1 hour conversation with him. I mean, fantastic, and I won't ever forget it.
Yeah. He was real quick. George W. was here, and he was
Yes.
stumping to be a governor. I mean, to be the governor of Texas. And I am sitting at the press conference, front row. He's part owner of the Texas Rangers, just a little part. So I just wanted a couple of questions for notes in a column. You know what I mean? So I'm sitting there all nice and polite. He does the whole thing, okay? And then I walk up after, and he goes, "You're a sports writer. I can tell you guys a mile apart. You know what I mean? From a mile away." And he had a big laugh. Answered a couple of questions for
He
me.
was a nice man.
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it is. And yeah, so.
So she talks about being removed, and this is just, it's not odd to me now. At first it was. So Ashley's set up down the hall, and she works in the dark.
Yeah.
I called it the Bat Cave.
I
You
like
walk
it.
by, and
You ought to
and
put that up there.
Ashley's office was always dark, and you'd walk in, you'd see the glow off of her screen.
Yeah.
And that's all you could see. Maddie comes to work with us, and she's working in the office across the hall. And it wasn't a week later, I walked by, and it's dark. And I'm like, what do people do? Now she's in Ashley's old office, and it's dark all the time, and I'm just used to it now.
But I asked Maddie about that, and the
Yes.
explanation is excellent. In the dark, I don't want to answer for you, but you can just see
color better.
yeah, like what she's producing.
They're focused. I mean,
Yes.
but
But
at
it is,
first, I'm
I
like,
will say this, it's a very calming experience
too.
walking into a dark room.
That too.
Yeah.
Yes, it's like, okay, I'm
yeah,
fine.
my wife could live with you because she she hates it when I turn the lights on. I'm
That's
blind in
funny.
one eye. I need every bit of light
Yeah,
I can
that's
get.
my wife too.
Yes.
She
But I
loves-
walk by Ashley's office, and I walk by there, and I just go like a
You
bat.
maybe have a
That's funny.
bat cave or something. Come up
Yeah,
with
our
that,
house
so.
is super light everywhere, but our office dark.
Yeah. All right, and then our last one, on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the best, how good are you at keeping a secret?
If my husband doesn't count 10,
Okay.
he's probably gonna know most everything.
Okay, that's the way
But
it
other
should
than
be.
that, 10.
That's awesome. That is awesome. That surprises me a little bit.
Really?
No, coming from 8 siblings, just the 8, like all the stuff that goes
If it's
on.
harmful, there's
yeah.
then no.
Yeah.
But
No, I like
yeah.
that. I like that. Scale of 1 to 10,
Oh,
10 being the best. How good are you?
I'm gonna tell you. I'm gonna tell you the 2 or 3 people that are gonna know most everything in my world, and my wife, Craig and Stacy. They're gonna pretty well know most everything. Outside of that, probably a 10.
Yeah.
But if it's business, I've got to let the key people here know, and that's my leadership team. There's 8 of us on the leadership team, meet on Monday mornings, and I may tell them this doesn't leave this room, but I need y'all to be in the loop on this, because if they hear about it, they need to know how to react to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's personal things, it's a lockstep 10. But
You're the vault. You're the vault.
I'm
They
like
call it the
her.
vault.
I'm like her when Kim's going to know pretty much everything.
Oh, that's the way it should
there's a
be.
handful of
Yeah.
things that I want to be surprises for her. But
Oh, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
if it's serious stuff, she's gonna know about it. She don't like surprises, neither do I. And so, yeah, we go from there. Golly, thanks for on number 40. We only took
Number
40
40.
podcasts to get you on the set.
Works for me.
But,
No, we appreciate it big time. I mean, it's
Yeah.
what Maddie's done for the podcast. She has really helped it get out there and things like that. And we just want you to know how much we're blessed to have you helping us out because we're two clueless dudes in general. You know what I mean? And you really come through for us.
Thank you.
Well, they don't understand that we don't script this. I mean, there's nothing scripted. I bring in some questions. Lance brings in questions each week, but we don't talk beforehand.
Yeah,
there's nothing scripted about this podcast, and that's what I think I like about it the most. It's just raw.
Yeah, no,
And
I like it too.
whatever we say, and we have to own up to it afterwards. But boy, she still makes us look good, even a little bit on that YouTube channel. So
yeah, no,
the rest of them can just listen on the audio. But
no, she does an amazing job, and we're so thankful.
Yep.
Yeah,
Thanks.
good job today.
Thanks.
Yeah, it's a little
It's
different.
weird being on this side. But I'll take it.
You nailed it. We may have lost our jobs. I'm just going to tell you. You know.
Well, if you've seen the commercials she's done for us, yeah, we may have.
That is fun
yeah,
to do.
exactly. So, hey, we can't thank you enough for joining us week in and week out. We love the support, and if you have any ideas for guests, bring them. We'll try to get them in here and see what we can do. So, I just want to say this was the Fieldhouse Podcast. It is a production of the Kids Inc. Sports Network, and we'll see you when we see you.